that. Yes, sir, I would.
So is water wet?
Is water wet? You
Is
say?
water,
No.
Is water wet?
My answer is no.
I dare say
My answer
no.
is no because wet is a description
Well,
of
wet is a description
noun.
of something that got wet, that got water on it, and it got absorbed on it. Or, no, not absorbed, because technically a car could be wet.
no.
It could absorb water.
The surface that water is on is wet. Water, wet,
So water in
wet
itself.
is an effect.
You can't have water
Wet is an effect.
on water. Water is one thing, so water wouldn't be wet.
Is-
I say no.
Well,
Is wind windy? That's the same question.
Hold on,
Yeah.
hold on. So water. Okay, so we have water. Okay.
Yes.
Now, if you wet something, say I spilled this
Don't do
on. I'm not, but
But don't do it. Just
let's just use our minds here. If
No,
I
don't
spilled,
do it, though.
I'm not gonna do it. But let's just use our minds here. If I wet,
You're not gonna
the
do it, though,
table,
right?
I'm not gonna do it, dude. You're
All right.
losing. Okay, if I spill this,
Expensive.
I'm not gonna do it.
expensive
If
table.
it's just do you guys want to see what's under here? There's nothing. It's just a regular table. It's just a
No,
regular.
but
it's
what's
not
right
a-
next to it?
Okay,
Okay.
back to the. Let's use our minds here. Okay, if I
be
wet the
careful.
table, I'm not gonna wet it. I'm not wetting the table. If I wet the table with this energy drink, okay, the table has now
Who is
become
not
wet.
a sponsor?
Right.
Yeah, who's not a sponsor. In fact, let's get them out. Oh man, they're in every shot. Okay, let's leave the calories.
You should get a bunch of like cup things that have
the warmers. The
our
cup warmers?
actual
Yeah.
sponsor.
Do you still have anything? Okay, never mind. Okay, if I wet this with any type of drink, whatever. Let's
Right.
say I had
Liquid?
whatever energy drink.
Any liquid.
Let's say milk. Let's say I had milk. I dropped it on there. Now it's wet with milk.
wet.
Okay, it's wet with milk, right?
Okay.
Does that make
Oh,
sense?
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So what happens if I pour the milk on the water? Is the water wet with milk,
You got water all over my milk.
or did I get milk all over your water?
That's a
Listen.
question.
Did I wet your
Listen.
water with milk, or did I
You
wet the
didn't do
milk with
anything.
water?
You didn't do anything.
Spilt a whole bunch
you
of
didn't
water
do
that
anything that had
you
to
said
do
you
with
were-
wet. You didn't do anything. All you did was mix something that was already wet.
So water is wet.
No.
Ah, I got him.
No.
I got him. Let the jury show.
No, bro. Wet is an effect
but you
caused
just said.
by water.
But you just said.
Well,
Or
what
any
what
liquid.
effect? Because you could put
What do you mean, what
water.
effect?
Well, what effect? Because if you wet a shirt, it's gonna get absorbed into it. But if you wet
now
a
the
car,
shirt is wet.
if you wet a car, it's not absorbing into anything. It's just
But
on
no,
a
see,
car.
this analogy does not work with anything else because there's nothing else.
Wait,
that
here's a weird
gets
scenario.
this
Here's a weird
from it.
scenario. If we had a block of ice and we threw water on it,
The ice is now
ice
wet.
is now wet,
Yeah,
but it's the same thing as water. It's
no,
just
no,
in
no,
a different.
no.
It's
It's in
different
a different form.
form.
exactly. So it's not water; it's ice.
But what happens when
When
that
ice, melts,
melts?
and starts to get
Does it
wet
get more
and
wet?
perspire, it doesn't get more wet. It gets wet.
How does it get wet if it's melting into water?
No. Stop doing this.
That's what we're saying.
You guys
dude.
are just
That's what
trying to
I'm
make
saying.
me twist tongue and
No,
not.
because if you
guys
think
aren't-
about it, look, block of ice. The block of ice is eventually going to turn into water, right?
I'm
Right.
not gonna let you guys get away with this.
So if you threw water, if you threw water
would've got
on the block of
would've
ice,
got away with
Hold
this
on,
if it wasn't
let
for
me
you.
finish this. If you threw water on the block of ice, you got the block of ice wet. But if the block of ice starts melting, even though it got wet with the water that you dropped on it,
The ice is wet.
So
the
ice is wet.
Yeah.
What is
yes,
that- what is
because,
ice?
The ice is wet because it starts to perspire.
but
What is
it
ice?
no longer
Once
turns into
once
ice.
you start to
it's
see
no longer
drips,
ice. It's
once you start to see
dissipating.
things drip and like a puddle building around it,
So-
it is now wet.
Okay, I get you. It's not wet.
But just sitting in a freezer,
at
it
what-
is not.
At what
wet.
point does it separate? Like, because obviously the ice is going to melt and it's just going to be a puddle of water, right? At what point is it no longer wet but all water?
That's-
Going off of your. off
You
of
have
what
to
you're-
ask that again
Okay,
because that question is a weird one.
so you're saying if we're going off of your logic where water is not wet, but you can wet ice, at what
Which
point?
is water.
Which is water.
Not
At
ice
what-
is not water.
Okay.
Ice is water.
Yeah, but okay, hold
No,
on.
it's
hold
made
on.
up of the same molecules, but it's not water.
Yeah. Okay. But
No.
at what point? Let me finish. Let
Go
me
ahead,
finish.
go ahead.
At what point does that block of ice that you wet, that was wet, no longer become wet, but become just a puddle of water?
When it's melted,
So when it's completely gone, So if that puddle of water,
When there's
is
no more
just-
ice.
So like when there's one little piece of ice still,
I have
just don't
ice in here.
Don't spill it though.
Drink
I
your.
have ice. I have ice in
Drink-
my. Okay, I have ice in my
Water.
Is
water.
your ice wet?
My ice is wet because it's submerged with water right now. If I take the ice out, I mean, there's still going to be some water left.
But
Dripping.
wouldn't that make your fingers wet
My fingers, yeah.
when it melts?
When it melts, yeah. But when it's melting,
So if
and
you're
it drip-
holding- if
when
you're
it's in
holding-
a different, what's the different form? It's like dripping.
A gas.
So pretty
a
much
liquid,
whenever
a liquid,
water-
a gas, and a solid.
Those are all three
Right.
different forms: ice, water.
Mist.
No, not water. This is all water.
No, you're wrong.
Gas.
You're
No,
wrong.
it's H2O.
Liquid.
wrong.
That's water.
No,
Water is H2O. Can we agree on that?
it's the same molecule.
Yes.
It's a different
So
state, a
it's-
different
exactly.
form. So
but
it's not
ice
water.
is water.
So it's pretty much when
Molecule-wise,
it's on an
like,
actual
sure,
object.
No,
But, like-
hold on. Hold on.
Okay, do you go?
Hold on. My mom was calling me. Hold on. Stop.
Okay, let me
hold
stop
on.
you. When you go to the store and you go buy ice, do you say, "Do you guys? Where do you have your water?" And where do they point you to? Do they direct you to the ice? No, they direct you to the water.
Okay, but then if they direct, but I mean that's loosely because if they direct you to a bottled water, you say no, I don't want a bottled water. I want water.
Okay,
What
okay.
do
How
they
about,
send you to- they
how
can
about
send you-
this?
exactly.
How about this?
Well,
How
yeah,
about
because
this?
you
Hold
usually
on.
ask for water
Hold
bottle.
on. How about this? Would we agree that everything that rain touches gets wet?
Yes.
What if it rains in the ocean?
Water, because water is like
What if it rains in the ocean?
Then the ocean's getting wet.
it's not getting anything. It all
What's happening?
It's
then?
already wet. Is that
It's
what you're
already
saying?
wet?
It's not already. Okay, the ocean.
is wet now.
When you describe the ocean, you describe it as wet.
Okay.
But you don't say.
So the ocean
Let's
is
go
wet.
to the wet. Nobody
No,
says let's
you
go
don't
to the
say
wet.
let's
They
go
say
to the
let's
wet
go to the ocean.
because the wet is an adjective. It's not a
It's a
noun.
description.
So you-
It's a description.
It's
Yeah.
it's an
It's a
adjective.
description, yes.
So water can wet,
Water can wet.
and water
Can get
is
things
wet.
Water is wet.
That's what we've
Is-
been saying.
Is as in it's a description.
Yes,
It's
it is.
wet, but-
yes. So water is wet.
That's
on.
the question.
Hold
Is
on.
water
That's the
wet?
question.
And you just said water
just
is
said
wet.
yes.
Water is not
Can the
wet.
jury? Can,
Water is not wet.
Bro, Migos, did he just say that the water
I
is
said it,
wet?
but you're playing these mind tricks on me.
I'm not playing
Water
these
is
mind
not
tricks. I'm
wet.
stating the facts.
Water is not wet.
I think we lost him.
He's gonna go to sleep at night. Water is not wet.
He's in the shower, just water, water.
He's like,
I'm wet,
why
but
don't-
not water.
Why
in
don't
the
they
shower.
listen to me? Yeah.
So, okay, let's say you're wet. Or let's say you are at a pool.
I'm in the shower. Okay, yeah.
You get in the pool, you're wet, right?
I'm not wet.
You know what? I got an idea. Here's a really good idea. Okay.
Okay, what's your idea?
So you're saying water cannot be wet, but you can get wet.
I mean, it's a.
Guess what, my guy? You're 70% water.
Oh my goodness.
Case closed.
Case closed. Water is
No,
wet.
dude. There's no way you guys believe that. You guys are just trolling.
Are we?
Is fire
you want
hot?
You want the final answer?
Just wait until we get into the flat Earth theory.
Is fire hot? What other
Flat
questions
Earth.
do we have?
That's not one of the questions. But bro, Migos, if you want that to be a question, we will get into the flat Earth theory.
It is flat though.
Is it,
It is.
Jake? Is
What?
it
What'd you
flat Earth theory?
Is the Earth flat?
say? No.